welcome to Sugarcube Magazine. How are you, Miss Izadore?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for it.
Fantastic. Let me start this off by saying how honored I am to be speaking to you. I really feel like I'm speaking to a rock star. I have been a fan of Fela Kuti, and by way of Fela, a fan of yours for a long time. I was introduced to his music in college, and so to be speaking to you is really an honor, and I thank you for taking the time to sit down and to speak with me.
Wow. Wow, well, that was a bunch of flattery right there. I'm wondering if I'll be able to get out of this room. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Look, I had a couple of questions because I have seen the traveling show of Fela, and I really wanted to speak to you about, some of the things that I saw, just to get the background on that particular time and space. So the first question is, can you tell us about the first time you met Fela? When was it? What was it like?
Well, do you want me to describe the whole day? Because if I did that, we're going to be on this phone a long time. So how much time do you have?
I have all the time that you want to give me.
Okay, well, anyway, let me give you the brief view.
Okay.
It was Juno Lewis who introduced me to Fela.
Okay.
Juno, how I knew Juno was through the master dance class at UCLA, the African dance class.
Yes.
Because at that point in my life, I was in search of who I was, because I could not accept America's version and definition of me, white America, that is.
Yeah.
And I certainly wasn't getting anything at the universities and colleges, just a little bit of information.
Yes.
But, it wasn't like I was getting a lot of history about my people. And then with that in television, and every time I saw our people, they were always subservient. They were never none of the doctors or the lawyers or, they were stable hands and maids, All this time I knew I wasn't going to, I didn't feel as though I was going to get the truth in America. So I figured the source would be to go to Africa. In my mind, I was convinced if I met an urban African, that that urban African was going to give me their history. And with these histories together, which I was so certain that they were liberated already, And Juno, once again, had heard this African band play. And as I explained before, I was in this African dance troupe. Sawaba was his name. I was in African dance troupe, and Juno was the master drummer. He played djembe. Oh, he could play that drum, and the spirits would just come down and get inside my body, and I could go,
Wow.
And then it was him who insisted that I meet this band from Africa. And, by now I'm really disillusioned because all of the African people that I had met were so brainwashed. I mean, well-washed brains that were like 75 to 100 years behind where we were here in America, right?
Right.
So when Juno introduces me to Fela, I see an urban African. He's not even in what I would call traditional clothing. He's in Western clothing, right?
Okay.
But it's with his own design, right?
Okay.
Because Fela always did wear these flamboyant shirt and pant. But before he transcended, he had started putting the African embroidery on the clothes, because that's one thing about Nigerian culture. They're definitely peacocks. And they're going to spread those feathers, let you
Right.
see their beauty. Mhm.
So you met him at that time. You were introduced to him, and the relationship that the two of you had was so instrumental into creating, a genre of music that is loved worldwide. In your talks, did you see this coming forth slowly, or was this just something that just he said, you know what, I think this is it? Was it instantaneous, or was it a slower process?
Well, once I became aware, when I heard his music in the beginning and I didn't hear it, he had one song that had my attention. And I think the only reason how come that one song got my attention is because of Deadly Dancer. And that song was entitled Abe. And, anyway, I'm not a Yoruba person, but that's what I heard. But, that's the melody, okay?
Yes.
So anyway, that song got my attention. That was the one song that got my attention. And I asked him what was he saying, and he told me he was singing about his soup. And from that point, that was the beginning of the education. But as far as I was concerned, I was just sharing knowledge,
Right.
It wasn't. I didn't see myself as a teacher because I saw Fela as my equal. I figured he knew all about African history, and he knew everything. He was supposed to be teaching me, right?
Right.
And that was until I heard him say something very stupid, and it was stupid to me, and it was offensive. So I had somewhat of a breakdown.
Okay.
That's when I told Fela, hey, you can't do this. As a musician, you have a responsibility, and that's your responsibility is to educate and teach through music.
Right.
So apparently he heard me, because after that he started writing songs while here in the U.S. In my mother's house on that old upright piano. He started writing and composing different songs. And I'm trying to think of My Lady's Frustration was one of them. By Africa, Black Man's Cry. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Jewite Me. Oh, I love Jewite Me. And even then, he wasn't doing so much pidgin. He was still singing in Yoruba, right?
Right.
And he gradually started to incorporate the Yoruba and pidgin English together.
Okay.
And so while all that was going on in the U.S., then, the name of that group at the time was the Kula Labitos. It was only 9 of them. So we thought of names, and the first name we thought of collectively together was Nigeria 70, because the year was 70, Nigeria. I met him in 69, but by now Christmas had come and everything. So, and there were people that were showing interest. There was a lot of interest because this was after the Citadel, the Haiti, all of that.
Right. So after this time, he's spent some time in the United States. He's gone back to Nigeria, and we see this change in him. When did you finally get a chance to go to Nigeria? This is kind of two-part. When did you finally get a chance to go to Nigeria with him, and what were your thoughts as an African-American woman in Nigeria?
Okay, 1970 is when I went to Nigeria. That's when Fela brought me there.
Okay.
When I first arrived in Nigeria, because I only drew and visualized from my own frame of reference.
Right.
And my frame of reference wasn't extensive at all. So when I got there, it was new. It was different. I just remember the colors and seeing so many black smiling faces the weather, the way the weather embraced me,
Yeah.
It was like, whoa. It was different. It was different. It was foreign. But Fela was there, and I had a great love for Fela.
Okay.
So as long as he was there, we could have been in the middle of a cow patch, and I think I would have been happy.
For those who have not seen the traveling show, who will probably go on to see it in the other cities or may get a chance to see it again, what do you want us to keep in mind as we walk into the theater and then after we leave?
When you walk in there, you are going to walk into the shrine, and you are going to have an experience of being in Fela's nightclub. And when you leave, you should leave with the idea of knowing about young people that fought and struggled to make a change in Nigeria. And it's been really nice talking to you.
Same here. I really am. I meant what I said. I'm so honored to be able to talk to you. You have influenced an entire world and continue to do so. So, this was a real pleasure for me.
Thank you.
It really was.
A pleasure for me as well.